welcome to School Talk, Connecting Parents to Possibilities. This segment on gifted children has been sponsored by SPH Marketing, and we thank them for their sponsorship. And my guest today is a psychologist here in Sarasota County, Dr. Vidisha Patel. She's a therapist here, as well as being a member of the Sarasota County Exceptional Student Advisory Council, and has recently been elected board member for SANG, which is an interesting organization. That stands for Supporting the Emotional Needs of Gifted Individuals.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
It's great to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. And tell them a little bit about your specialty as a therapist here in Sarasota County.
Well, I work primarily with children and families on stress and anxiety issues, with the children mostly. I also work with a large population of gifted children in Sarasota County, and I help with behavioral issues as well.
Now tell us what gifted is. I bet a lot of people don't even know what that term means.
Well, gifted means different things actually, and in the school district there is a quantitative definition of gifted. Children are mandated by Florida law to have an IQ, a minimum IQ of 130 to qualify for a gifted program in the school system. But to me, gifted is so much more, because there are so many more other attributes that these children exemplify. There is a social, emotional piece. Gifted children tend to have heightened emotions. They are very sensitive to whatever is around them in their surroundings. They're much more intense. They have characteristics where their development is different in different areas.
Now I want to ask something, because I know our viewers are probably thinking, does a parent recognize when a child is gifted, or they just recognize that something, you know, maybe they're having a few issues in school, or what alerts a parent that they have a gifted child?
Well, it could be a number of different things. It could be that the child is retaining knowledge or has knowledge that is well above their age level, that comparable to their peers is much more. It could be that their child is not able to sleep at night, that they're overly active. It could be that they have a high level of concentration and ability to focus on something, or that they're not, that they are easily distracted or easily bored. So it's really looking at your child as a whole child and comparing what your child is doing versus his or her peers. And if you think something doesn't sit right, if it doesn't feel right to you at what your child is doing, that's a good time to have them checked out.
Have them tested, right, and find out what's going on.
Or at least talk to a professional and ask them for their opinion. Ask the teacher at school if they notice things at school as well.
And let's go back to the social emotional, because we were talking, you started to talk about how we need to support them in those areas.
Well, yes, because gifted children do have whatever emotions any child would have at a given age. Gifted children have it at a more intense level. So they may have trouble with their self-image. They may be worried about fitting in. They might find themselves feeling different. So they might be more sensitive to comments that other children might make, or what they're capable of doing versus what another child is capable of doing. Self-esteem becomes an issue as well. So you really need to look at all aspects.
Now I find that interesting that self-esteem would be an issue, because you would think, you know, most people think gifted children have it made.
Well,
and that's not true, is it?
It isn't true. I mean, children, at the end of the day, they're all children. And it's important, again, to look at the whole child, remember that your child is whatever age they are, and they want to be like their peers. We all do. So if a child has a lot more knowledge in one subject area than another one, they may feel almost embarrassed by it. And they may try to hide how much knowledge they have so that they can fit in. On the other hand, we also have to remember that while a child is gifted, they're not necessarily gifted in every area. So take, for example, the child who's gifted in math and can understand math at a level 2 to 3 years ahead of what their peers are doing. They may not be gifted in reading. They may struggle at that. And inside, they may be worrying about, why am I not? They will be looking at the negative, at what they cannot do, at what they cannot keep up with. They will then they could possibly try and hide it, which brings up a different point of asynchronous development. Gifted children will develop in different areas at different rates. And sometimes, or frequently, we will see gifted children with learning disabilities. And it's important to recognize that while children are gifted in certain areas, they may have difficulties in others, and we need to support those as well.
Now, I think that's something our viewers probably wouldn't even have thought of, that a gifted child could have learning disabilities. And when you're saying learning disabilities, give us an example of one that a gifted child may have.
There could be a processing disability. It could be that the child is so quick to solve a problem in their head that when they're asked to write down the steps involved, that they won't be able to do it. They might in fact come up with the wrong answer, when in fact, given the problem written on the board, they would know the answer right away.
So, and then I'm always curious about the stress that this must place on a parent when you have a gifted child. Do you deal with that in your private practice?
I do, and the stress it places on the parent and the stress it places on the child, and that is significant because all the academic issues present some stress, and then the social emotional side present greater stresses, and what happens then is that impairs their learning even further. So we really need to, again, I can't stress enough, looking at the whole child, challenging them in areas that they need the challenge and recognizing where they need the support.
Well, now, what are recommendations you give parents? Because for people that may be viewing this and may not have an opportunity, this may be new information to them, they think they do have a gifted child. What is sort of an example of a common stressor during the day for these parents or the child?
Well, for the children, for gifted children, organization could be an issue. Just trying to get through the day. Their thoughts are going all over the place. They're thinking at levels, they think out of the box. They're thinking at levels that their peers may not be thinking. So trying to keep up.
Trying to keep up. This is a wonderful, thank you so much for this information. And we want you to stay with us because we're going to talk more about this, and the superintendent of the Sarasota County Schools will be our next guest, Lori White, and she will talk about the opportunities there are in the Sarasota County school system.